Okay, I want you to picture something with me. You may or may not have experienced this. I know that I have. You're finally ready to work on your business, to start your website, to plant your digital flag, if you will. You're excited, you've got your coffee, you've got your notebook, you're ready. You open a domain search site, you type in the name that you want, you hit enter, and it's taken. So you try another one. Nope, taken. Another one, still taken. And then suddenly, what should have been a 5-minute decision has turned into a full-blown identity crisis. Friend, if that is you, you are not alone. I can't tell you how many business owners I've worked with who felt completely stuck right here before they even were able to launch. But here's what I want you to know right out of the gate in this conversation. Choosing a domain is important, but it's not supposed to paralyze you. And it does too many times, okay? So today I'm going to walk you through what could seem a little remedial for some, all right? But we're going to talk about how to choose a domain wisely, what actually matters when you're doing that, what doesn't matter nearly as much as people think it does, and what to do if your first choice is gone. We're going to talk about how to think about .com versus .co versus whatever other option is out there now because it feels like they pop up new ones every single day. And then I want to talk about a few strategic moves that some people don't even consider for their business in using domain names. So my goal by the end of this episode is that you can confidently pick one and move forward. Hallelujah. And if you are already thinking, I've got this buttoned up, Jan, I don't need this episode today, so I'm just going to skip, please don't click off. There may be something in there that either can help you, can help a friend that you might know that is stuck right here. And I've got a little strategy that not everybody's using, but some of you may find incredibly useful. And we're going to talk about that toward the end. So are you ready? Let's go. Truth time. When's the last time you raised your hands for a swift kick in the pants? Well, I'm the no-nonsense type friend who's going to tell you when you have food in your teeth. So let's get right to it. This is your infusion of sacred and secular, calling you higher into who God created you to be, exploring how intimately faith applies to every part of your life, and how you can live that faith every single day in the marketplace. I felt the tension of separation of church and state. I've been one of the few women at a table of men for decades, and I've stood my ground. Are you ready to do the same? These tools, resources, and interviews are meant to do just that. I'm Jan Touchberry, and it's time to share her faith at work. Hey, friends, welcome back to Her Faith at Work. I am so glad that you are here today. We're going to talk about domains. I know you may be asking yourself, why are you doing a whole episode on domains, Jan? Well, let me tell you. I always want to bring you very practical information, and this is a conversation that I have often. Okay. In my business, I have this conversation often because on the surface, it can seem really simple. Oh, yeah, you just go to GoDaddy and you grab your domain. But I've lost count of the number of times that I've had this conversation with people, even just this week, y'all, when we go to build their site or register their URL and it's taken, or the one that they purchased is less than stellar and it is just difficult, right? What do you do if the one that you want you can't get? And then what you're left with, people are not going to be able to remember. It's hard because a domain feels weighty, it feels permanent, it feels like sometimes a little like naming your child. Like once you choose it, you're locked in for life. But from somebody who has helped build and rework a lot of brands, domains can change. So just, exhale just a little bit. Businesses evolve, brands refine, and so you're not carving something into stone tablets today. What you're doing is you're choosing a tool, okay? It is a door, a digital address. It's kind of a signpost that points people to where you are and what you offer, but that's all. That's all. So I want to simplify the whole process just a little bit. We're going to talk about what makes a domain strong, okay? A good domain is not the most clever one, or the most creative one, or the most poetic one. I know some of you died inside just a little bit because for some of us, that's who we are. We're creatives. We create. But it's not the one that people remember, you guys. It's just not most of the time. Most of the time, it's not. And people remembering where to find you and where to find your offer, that's the goal. So here's a little test that you can run, okay? If somebody hears your domain once, are they going to be able to spell it? And are they going to be able to remember it? If they can't, it's going to cost you traffic, which in turn costs you dollars in your wallet. All right? If somebody has to ask you, wait, how do you spell that again? That's friction. And online, friction is expensive. Clear is going to be clever every single time. So you want it to be easy to say out loud because whether you realize it or not, people share websites verbally all the time. They get shared in conversation, they get shared on podcasts, they get shared from stages, they get shared at events. And if it's awkward to say, it's awkward to share. And finally, when you're thinking about this, it needs to sound like you. If your brand is polished and professional, your domain shouldn't sound random or thrown together, okay? Alignment is going to matter with your brand here. I want to talk a little bit about the confusion that comes with the .co, .com, all the things, right? So it comes up constantly, so we're just going to settle it, I hope. I hope we're going to settle it in your mind today. People are going to default to typing in .com automatically because it's the most recognized extension on the planet. Statistically, I looked it up, .com still dominates the internet, holding over 40% of the URLs, okay? It makes up the largest percentage of registered domains worldwide, and that matters because people trust what feels familiar. So, if the .com version that you're looking for is available and it fits into your brand, it's almost always the safest and clearest choice. Grab it now. All right? Now, if your exact name isn't available as a .com, that does not mean that you're stuck. A .co can be a great option. It's short, it's clean, it's more modern. You see them popping up all over the place as the .coms get snatched up. I've seen plenty of strong brands build on .co without any issues. I have a .co. My name is a .com, but my business, the brand Collaborative, is a .co. All right. You just need to understand normal human behavior just a little bit. Okay. So some people are still going to type .com out of habit, and that's normal. So most people are, if the .com is not there, they're going to check a .co because that's in people's minds. I think that's starting to be like the second alternative. Now, there are other extensions like .net, .org, .studio, .online, .whatever. Those are going to require some more intentionality if you have to grab one of those, okay? .net, I feel like .net's losing a little steam. Before it was like .com or .net, but now with all these, the rise of the inventive whatever, I feel like .net's lost some steam and .co has risen to the top of that. But those other extensions can work well for niche use, for specific campaigns, for creative brands. But if you're building your main home-based business, simpler is usually stronger. I will tell you that there's a new one I didn't know about. It's a .best. Interesting. And if your name is Best, if your last name is Best, you need to go grab it right now. I'm just telling you. I ran into somebody, Stephanie Best, and she had just purchased stephanie.best, and that is her new domain. She also owns stephaniebest.com, which is great, but stephanie.best, that's pretty cool. So if your last name happens to be Best, that's your pro tip for the day. All right. So while we're here, I want to talk just for a second. If you're registering domain names and yours is not available, please, please, for the love of all the things, don't avoid hyphens, avoid underscores if you possibly can, okay? They're just going to create confusion because people forget them, they skip them, they misplace them. It's just, it's hard. That is a hard extension. All right. So if there's a clean option without one, choose the clean option. All right. So what are you going to do if your domain is taken? Well, this is the part where people are going to freeze, right? They search their name, it's not available, and immediately they assume they are out of options. Well, you're not. You're not. So here's the order that I recommend trying. And this works more often than you think. Okay. So first, if your regular name is not available, first you're going to try, like if you're searching for your own name, like my personal name, Jan Touchberry, if that was not available, first I would try adding a middle name or my initial, because a lot of times that alone is going to solve it for people. I know people who drop their last name and just go with their first and middle name. That's I've seen that a lot. Okay, so that works. If you can get that in a .com, do it. If you can't, you could add a simple, very natural word, something that's short and intuitive, like with or hello or the, right? Not something long or complicated, just enough to make it available. And that's because short, intuitive words get people to remember. They're easy to pronounce, and that is the goal. Okay, so let's say you're Sarah Johnson. If sarahjohnson.com is taken, instead of spelling it weird or hyphens, domain naming pros suggest something like this. You do the sarahjohnson.com. You could do hello sarahjohnson.com. You could do with sarahjohnson.com. I personally don't think that one is a better option, but whatever floats your boat. You could do sarahjohnsonco.com, which I think in that case, it kind of rolls off the tongue. If you're finding that these don't roll off the tongue, again, go back to clear, right? Find something that's clear. I have a friend who does themichellesmith.com, and that really works, right? For some people that can feel like themichellesmith.com. For some people that can feel a little, am I super promoting myself? Am I, putting myself out there like something that I'm not? No, you're just finding a domain name that works for you. Okay. So those are simple, they're natural, they're easy for people to remember. And that's kind of exactly, they're not kind of exactly, that is exactly like if you go on GoDaddy and Wix, that is exactly what they recommend. All right. And if you kind of hate all of those options, it's okay. If your exact name is available in the .co, that is usually your next cleanest option. All right. Notice what I didn't say. I didn't say you got to panic. I didn't say you got to grab something confusing just to grab it. Clarity is always worth taking a few extra minutes to find something. Okay? Clarity, 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 clarity. Now, listen up, people. This part's very important, even if you never plan to use it. For the love. If you don't own your name as a domain, please go buy it. Please go buy your name. If your personal name is available as a domain, go grab it and just hold it. Your name is an asset. It's an asset. I have a good friend who panicked because she was going to go register her domain name and it was not there. And she's like, what do I do? Now, come to find out, she had actually already purchased it years ago when I suggested that she do that. So, hallelujah for listening. But your name is an asset. But your name is an asset, and you don't know what God might ask you to do 5 or 10 years from now. He may ask you to speak. He may ask you to write, teach, lead, launch something new, step into a platform that you cannot even see in your mind yet, and you're going to need it. I've watched people try to buy their own name back later from somebody who already owned it, and friends, it costs thousands of dollars in some cases. I have a client right now who had the foresight to buy their names and the names of their children. What a great idea. What a great gift, right? Except one of their sons' names was taken. Guess which one of their children ended up running for state representative? Yep, you guessed it. The one that did not have the domain. So you just never know, okay? They could not have predicted when they were buying these years ago that their son would end up running for state representative. You just don't know what God is going to do. So go buy your name. Go buy your kids' names. And if you think that you have a good idea for a domain that you might use at some point and it's available in a .com, go get it. because there are people who make a business of buying up domains that are good and then they sell them at a hefty price, okay? And there's also broker fees. You just don't even want to get in there, okay? So again, you just never know what's going to happen, and it's available. If it's affordable, please secure it. You don't have to build anything on it. You can just hold it. I own a lot of domains. It might be a problem. I don't know. My GoDaddy account is full, and I don't pay a lot of money for all of these, but if I can buy it for, $21 for 3 years, I'm going to do it. And then I can reevaluate in 3 years if I want to keep it. Okay. That's just wisdom, friends. It's just wisdom. So I promised at the beginning that I would talk a little bit about a strategy that most people are not using. I think it's a little bit forward thinking, and I have found that it's really kind of cool. So for all of you incredibly organized and forward thinking people who think you have all of your URLs buttoned up, this is what I want to recommend. I want to recommend that you buy domains for your offers. What do you mean by that? So instead of directing people to a long link with a bunch of slashes or pages, which is what you normally have to do, like for my visibility vault, right? It would be jantouchberry.com/visibility vault. I mean, are people going to remember that? Yeah, maybe, right? But how much cooler is it to have the visibilityvault.com? You can send people right there, and then you just do a redirect in your domain host to that web page for the landing page, right? And it's going to be simple, it's going to be memorable. Short links are easier to remember, easier to say, easier to act on. You don't have to remember all the slashes, the dashes, all the things. And it's especially powerful if you are speaking or teaching or sharing links verbally, because if somebody hears it once and they can remember it, they're much more likely to actually visit it, even on a podcast. Okay. How many people, well, if you're like me, I listen to podcasts constantly when I'm driving, and somebody's going to tell me about a great offer and say the link is in the show notes. Okay, great. How many times am I going to go back to those show notes? Maybe you are a show note person. I very rarely, like 1 out of 100 podcasts that I listen to, do I actually go back and check the show notes. But if they have something that I want and they give me a URL that I can remember, I'm going to it because I don't have to go back in Apple and find the episode and find the show notes, and it's too many steps. I just want a URL that I can remember. Okay, so simple links remove hesitation, and removing hesitation helps people say yes faster, which gets money in your wallets. So if you register it with GoDaddy and then just redirect it, like I said, to the appropriate page on your website, it's super easy. I think Jenna Kutcher is a master at this. She has links like thepodcastlab.com or growyouremaillist.com. I mean, what a great URL is that? Growyouremaillist.com. Fantastic. You don't have to do this for every single freebie that you have. I don't recommend that unless you're rolling in the bucks. But if you have an offer that is a staple in your business, or let's say you're an author and you're releasing a book, those are perfect to use this strategy. Go buy the URL name of your book. Okay. Actually, I have a new URL going live next week. You can stay tuned for info on that. You're going to love it. Okay. Maybe I'll just tell you because I'm kind of excited about it, you guys. It is theworkflowexchange.com. It is not live yet. So if you go there, you will not find a finished page, but it will be live on Sunday, I think, if all goes well. And it's going to be for a new little offer that I start talking about in March, and it's going to be kind of great. And you're going to actually want it. So theworkflowexchange.com. But you see how I'm using that, right? It's actually kind of fun, but be careful. Like I said, kind of a URL junkie, so it can be a little bit addicting. But I can think of worse things to be addicted to than buying URLs. I'm just going to say it. All right, so before we close, quick heart check. If you've been stuck on this decision for weeks or months, or actually avoiding it because you know that the .com is not available, I want to say this gently. At some point, friend, overthinking stops being wisdom and it starts just being delay. And delay is one of the enemy's favorite tools. Not because domains matter that much, but because being obedient to what the Lord has called you to does. And if God has given you something to build, You don't need the perfect domain to begin. You just need one that works for now, and then you can tweak it as you go. Progress honors him more than the perfection and the delay ever will. So if you want to decide today, here's what I would tell you. Just a little recap. Brainstorm a handful of options so you're not just going into, GoDaddy with one. No, they don't sponsor me, but they are my favorite. ChatGPT is a great brainstormer. Okay, so brainstorm a handful of options. Say them out loud. Do they fit? Are they easy to say? Then ask some of your ideal clients their opinion on them. That's always super valuable. And then the clearest one that is available, you choose that. Just choose it. Secure it and move forward. Done is better than stalled. Okay? Your domain is the address that allows you to fulfill the mission and the calling that the Lord has placed on your life, and it helps you create the impact that God created you for in this world. So choose one that's clear, grab it, keep going. And if you know somebody who has been stuck in this exact decision loop, send this episode to her. Would you do that, friend? Because it might just be the nudge that she needs to finally move. All right, that's all I got for you this week. We'll talk soon. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Her Faith at Work. If the Lord put someone on your heart that you think needs to hear this message today, will you just smash that share button? And if you haven't already followed the show, I would love for you to do that. Super extra points if you hop over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. That helps the algorithm pick us up and drop us right in the AirPods of people that need to hear what the Lord is saying to them today. I hope you'll come back for the next episode of Her Faith at Work. The podcast comes out every Wednesday. And if you look down in the show notes, I've even got a couple of free downloads for you that I think you will really enjoy. With that, have a great week. See you next time.